Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Highway to Hoover, a production of SEC Extra and D1Baseball.com. I'm your host, Joe Healy. We got another special episode for you here today, as I'm sure you probably noticed by now, because it's in the title of this episode that you clicked on. We're going to be joined, and by we, I mean Mark and I, are going to be joined by Mississippi State head baseball coach Brian O'Connor. Very excited to be joined by Oak, as they call him. Long history of winning, won a national title at Virginia. Now he is headed to Mississippi State. And so we jumped into why now, why Mississippi State, his approach to changing gears at this stage of his career. We talked about the team he's got on the field ahead of the 2026 season. We talked about some of the freshmen that Mississippi State got to campus. Really wide-ranging interview with a guy who I think is it's just going to be fascinating to see how things go with him at Mississippi State after so many years in the ACC. How he and his staff and his team navigate a year in the SEC. Before we get to that, of course, I have to remind you that today's episode of Highway to Hoover and every episode of Highway to Hoover is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. And it's still technically summertime, even though it is a little bit cooler, at least where I'm at. And I think where you are as well, if you're listening to this in the Southeast. But the sun is out and the fun is on. Still at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Score a cool pool, savor summer flavor with the grill, prep for fishing weekends, or mount up with a new mountain bike. However you have fun, you can't lose with our top brands. Gear up online at academy.com or at your local store. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get to our interview with Brian O'Connor. All right, everyone, as promised, we are joined on this episode of Highway to Hoover by brand new Mississippi State head baseball coach Brian O'Connor. Very excited to see the start of this era at a prestigious program here in the SEC at Mississippi State. Looking forward to getting into a whole bunch of things with Coach. But first off, Coach, I appreciate you making a little time for us this afternoon.
Well, thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate you having me on, and it's an honor, and looking forward to the next 30 minutes.
You know, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't kind of start with just the idea of, you've had a lot of opportunity in your career, I'm sure, at your time in Virginia, given all that you've accomplished, you and your staffs, that, you probably said no quite a bit to other opportunities. Why did Mississippi State get a yes when there were so many no's, presumably, before that?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. We're very fortunate to have a lot of success over 22 years at the University of Virginia. And certainly there were some opportunities over the years that came our way. But I'll tell you, this opportunity at Mississippi State is really, really special. The people here in Starkville, the fan base, the love and passion that they have for college baseball here is, I believe, the best in the country. It's like no other. And that's reflected in attendance and everything, and the support that's here to have a great baseball program at Mississippi State is at the highest level. And sometimes in life, there's opportunities that come our way that the timing lines up and it's the right place. And so just excited to be here with these young men that wear this uniform and about the opportunity we have in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a follow-up to that is, when you're on the outside of a program, you have an expectation of what it's like and what that program is about. Then when you come inside, sometimes it matches your expectations, and then there's things that you learn. What have you experienced so far? What's been as expected, and maybe what's been a little bit different?
Well, first of all, that I knew, having coached in the other dugout in this stadium a number of years ago in the 2000 and 2001 regional, 2000 regional here, and then in the regular season in 2001, knew that the fan base and the passion that they have here at Mississippi State for the baseball program. So that was really of no surprise. But until you get into it, and being here 3 months, you start to learn a lot more and peel back things a little bit. And it's just the people. The people are what make the place. And I didn't know that, coaching in the other dugout a handful of times in this stadium, you could see it and you could say, wow, boy, they really love their baseball. But they're, when you get here and you're in this community, and sure, they love their baseball, but the people here are wonderful. And they've just, the support has been outstanding, and the athletic administration here all the way up to the top of the university is completely committed to having a baseball program at the highest level.
I have to imagine you own more cowbells now than you ever have.
Yes, I do. I think the number right now is up to about 6. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Is that just part of the
growing.
package? You come in and there's just one sitting on your desk, and there's one like they give you when you buy your home. Like, how does that work, Coach?
Yeah, they just come in all different ways, and they also come with some earplugs because there's a lot of them, and it's loud. So, but yeah, I've got ones different colors, one with your name on it, just different things, and obviously it's a strong tradition here, and you just embrace it. It's outstanding, and just really fortunate, and they just they love it here, and there's just the rich history and tradition. You think about, guys, over the years what Coach Polk did here.
Oh yeah.
Right. And yes, it's been a winning tradition for a long time, but the foundation that he laid for so many years in this fan base, in this community, is just it's amazing, and you just love it, and you come into it, and you just embrace every minute of it.
Yeah. Well, you've had so much success in your career. I mean, but you're at a life stage, and I'm in a similar one, right? Where you have all this knowledge, all this experience to draw from. How do you apply that into this new challenge that you have?
Well, certainly I've been coaching for 32 years. It's been an awesome journey. There's still a lot of years left. I'm 54 years old, and there's a lot of coaching. And I got to tell you that the day that I was most excited, certainly 2 weeks ago on a Monday was our first team meeting. But that Wednesday, 2 weeks ago, tomorrow, being out on that field for some individual skill work with the players is what it's all about, right? And, having never coached in this league, but coaching against a lot of SEC teams, whether it be in the regular season or in the NCAA tournament or in Omaha over the years, just a high level of respect for the coaches in this league and the competition level. And so, as you grow as a coach over the years, certainly, guys, there's been many, many mistakes. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. But, the wisdom and knowledge that you gain over the years, whether it be in the recruiting area or player development or just in what it takes to win a game, that has evolved in all of us as coaches over the years. And, I'm a different coach today at the age of 54 at Mississippi State than I was as a 32-year-old first-time head coach at the University of Virginia. And it's called experience, right? It's called knowledge. It's called wisdom, through over time. And so I feel like I'm a way better coach today than I was taking the Virginia job 22 years ago.
It feels like a good segue, and you alluded to it a little bit, of just the unique gauntlet that is the SEC. And I don't want to take anything away from the ACC. Obviously, a very, very good, very committed baseball league. That's not the point of the question. It's more like, how much thought have you given to just kind of how you're going to have to navigate 10 consecutive weeks, no off weeks, just going through that gauntlet? How much have you thought about that already? Or maybe are you waiting until you get there to think about that? To tell us a little bit about your mindset when it comes to that specific piece of it.
Well, I've thought about it a lot over the last 3 months, but I can tell you that I've thought about it a lot over a number of years, right? As an observer of the league and competing against the league, you start to kind of game plan as a coach of how you would do it if the right situation came about. So I've been thinking about this for years if I was ever coaching in this league. And you're exactly right. I mean, it's a 30-game, 10-weekend absolute gauntlet. There is not a homecoming weekend on this schedule, right? And so, but that's what you love. If you're a coach that wants to be challenged every night, and you're a player, most importantly, the players that want the opportunity to have to bring their best every pitch, If you love to win and you love to compete, you want to do it against the best every night. And so there's a lot that goes into that, right? Like, how do you be successful over a 30-game schedule? This, the word you use, gauntlet. There in this league, you can have very physical, talented players, but how do you manage them throughout that 30-game schedule, throughout the entire 56-game schedule, so they don't hit a wall at the 60 or 70% mark, right? That's really important because, as I mentioned, no homecoming weekends. It takes everything out of you every weekend as a player, right? And so managing that as the leader of the program, I think is really, really important. So that, from a recruiting standpoint, the depth that you have, right? To think that all 30 ball games, you're going to be able to line up with the same 9 guys every game isn't going to happen, right? And so how you manage them on those practice days, those off days, because ultimately, we want to be in Omaha and win a national championship. So how do we get to the position that you can be successful every night, but also be playing your best baseball at the most important time of the year?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned building depth and how you get your roster to the position where it can help you down the stretch. Well, the game has changed so much in these last 5 years. You got the portal with the immediate eligibility, the NIL, now the roster sizes, DSAs, all of these different things that are really new for everybody, and you've got to come in and figure it out at the highest level while maintaining, and playing against the LSUs and Floridas and those kinds of programs.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's changed so much over the years, right? 22 years ago, you take over a college baseball program, and whatever players are returning that have eligibility left or didn't sign, and the new incoming freshmen, that's your team, right? And you coach them and put the pieces together to put the best team on the field that you can. Now you take over an elite level college baseball program. As you all know, it's totally different now, right? You got to try to, recruit the players in the current program to return first and foremost, right? And then you supplement through the transfer portal, and then you have some incoming high school players. And oh, by the way, the Major League Draft is positioned in the middle of July, so you really don't know until mid to late July what this looks like. So, but I'll say this, that's a lot of fun. I enjoyed this summer. I enjoyed the challenge of that, right? Of, deciding which players need to return here to Mississippi State to have a championship program. Which players do you grab out of the portal? What high school players are the right portal or the right players to add to that mix to bring this team together? The roster construction now in college baseball is one of the most exciting things about a job like this, right? But it certainly looks totally different than it did 22 years ago. No doubt. Right.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say you see that part of the job as being fun and you enjoyed it this summer. And I'm kind of curious, is using that as a jumping off point. I mean, it's so fascinating to me, the idea that there's 300 and some odd Division I coaches. I forget the exact number these days, but that you all ostensibly have the same job, but you come with different experiences and you have different angles you take on it. So what part of the job at this stage of your career, what fires you up? Like, what's the part of the job that you can't wait to tackle, that you find you are uniquely qualified or ready to take on?
Well, I had mentioned it earlier 2 weeks ago, walking into that stadium and working with the young men that wear this uniform, right? Once the roster is constructed, it's done, right? And so what I feel that I enjoy the most, right, is getting that group of young men together, right, getting them all going in the same direction, right, to the standards of what I believe a college baseball program needs to have, and managing them, right. Certainly there's the player development part that's crucial, and I've got a whole lot of confidence in our coaching staff in doing that, right. But there's there's so many at this level. There's so many ups and downs throughout the season. And I believe the best ones manage those, right? Because listen, we're not going to go 56-0, right? And how we handle the 18 to 22-year-olds and their emotions that they go throughout the year, in my opinion, that's the secret.
Well, let's talk about on the field a little bit. Heading into the fall, I mean, certainly from our perspective, good combination of returning players, but also a whole lot of newcomers who could really make an impact. Are there certain position battles that are really, really interesting, or is it just kind of you just kind of absorb everything and make some decisions?
Well, there's the great thing for the players,
Mm-hmm.
right, in a coaching change is that every job's open, right? Yeah. Okay, sure. Do we return, 5 position players that either played every day or a significant amount last year on this team in Mississippi State? Sure, we do, right? But the exciting thing for them is they get to prove it all over again, right? To a new staff,
Okay.
right? And so you put them all in the arena this fall and in the preseason and give them an opportunity to compete against each other. And ultimately that's going to help them develop and be the best that they can be, right? Nothing's going to be handed to them. They're going to earn it, right? And so, that's the exciting part, is to see what we really have. Certainly I can look at video and look at a stat sheet and say, hey, Ace Reese is a pretty special player. We all saw that last year in this league. Everybody did in this country, and some pitchers as well, and other position players, right? So we have a pretty good idea of what we have coming back. But certainly the shortstop job is up for grabs. The catching job, right? A handful of other positions that'll be fun to watch guys compete at this fall to ultimately determine who's the right guy to start us off. But one of the things I'm excited about as well is I think we got some really, really good depth and have some different options, right-handed and left-handed position player wise. Watching some of these bullpens over the first couple of weeks, I'm really, really excited about the arms that we're going to run out on the mound. We got a pretty special sophomore class here that got some experience last year, and now they're ready to make that jump to the next level, and certainly supplemented that with the portal as well. So it'll be an exciting fall around here. We've got 15 scrimmage games scheduled, inter-squad scrimmage games scheduled, and 2 outside competitions. So in those 17 ball games, we'll get a pretty good idea of who are the right guys for the right spots.
An important question here, and you are uniquely qualified to answer it in college baseball. Given that you are now the only coach in college baseball who has coached those brothers together. Is the last name pronounced Valencius or Valencus?
Valencius.
Because there was, Coach, I don't know if you're aware of this. There was a bit of a controversy so when you coached Tomas at Virginia, he would say Valencius. At Illinois, Vitas was pronouncing it Valencus. And so, as you can see, we were like, okay, I don't know who to believe here. So you're giving us the definitive word that we should move forward with Valencius.
I think you should, but it sounds like to me those boys need to get together and figure it out.
That's right. We got a communication problem in the Valencius department. Yeah.
How does Dad say it? I think that would be.
Yeah, that's right. Let's get Dad on the horn. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Tell us a little bit about Tomas. You coached him last year at Virginia, and he obviously showed flashes of what he could be, and then dealt with some of the typical things that a freshman deals with going through a first season in college baseball. So tell us a little bit about him and the expectations you have for him moving forward.
Well, I think he's a pretty special talent, to come in as a true freshman and throw 70 innings and start every weekend of the college baseball season. One speaks to his ability, but what separates Tomas, in my opinion, is his competitive spirit. Right. The guy loves to compete. Right. And, last year when I'd walk out to the mound to take the ball from him, I thought we were going to get in a fist fight, right? And I love that, right? And he's just got a lot of confidence in himself. And he came out of the gate last year really hot, right? And then needed to make some adjustments, right? And what I'm proud of him is that he made those adjustments and he was his best at the end of the year. So certainly he's got more experience now coming from last year. He was excited about the opportunity to come here to Mississippi State, and really believe he's going to continue to make those steps to be an elite level pitcher in this league.
Well, he was one of several players who followed you, from Virginia to Mississippi State. What does that mean when you have guys who you have a connection with who wanted to come with you?
Well, it means a lot, right? And when they immediately jump in the transfer portal and they call you a minute later and say, I'm in, right? Mm-hmm. And hadn't even talked to them about what their situation is or anything like that. Certainly that makes you feel good as a coach and gives you a lot of confidence that they're entrusting their development as a player. Because y'all know anybody that plays in this league, they want to play the game of baseball at the highest level. So the confidence that they have in a coaching staff on a move like that, right? Virginia, Mississippi State, certainly excites you as a coach about their confidence that they have in us to uphold our end of the bargain in their development.
You were able to bring after the draft a couple of freshmen that I think you were probably sweating out a little bit come draft time. You're of course no stranger to having to do that. Can be a stressful couple of weeks leading up to it. But Jack Bauer and Jacob Parker in particular should have everyone in Starkville excited. Can you give us a little window into what you expect from those guys as a freshman, understanding that, look, as good as they are, it's a whole different deal going into the SEC?
It is, and we all know that. We all know how challenging it is for a true freshman to make an impact in this league and the elite level of college baseball. But those two, along with a couple of others, I think are special talents. Jacob Parker, we all know his family and his brother, and what the kind of players they are and competitors they are, and comes from a wonderful family. And the draft didn't work out for Jacob, and he felt like coming to college was the right opportunity for him. Extremely talented player that is going to work every day to improve, and certainly really skilled. Jack Bauer is another example. I think a lot of people that didn't think there was any chance that he was going to get to college, and we all know he's got a lightning bolt for an arm, and I've watched Jack mature over the last couple of years. And it's been fun to watch his development. He's very physical for an 18-year-old. He's strong. And, just watching him over these 2 weeks and just to see him get better in a 2-week span has been a lot of fun. But, a young right-hander, Parker Rhodes, another left-hander, Maddox Miller, Peter Michon, whose brother played here at Mississippi State, is a really great athlete, and others as well. But just excited to work with them every day and see their development and the impact that they can make in this program.
Yeah, a quick follow-up on that. It's I think when we look at the draft from an outsider's perspective, we think of it as kind of a binary of, hey, if something happens and Jack Bauer and both of the Parker brothers end up Mississippi State, that's you're obviously happy about that. But I also think about it from the standpoint of, look, if, you obviously have a relationship with these players, and the families and what have you. And there's got to be another side of it where it's like, look, you take the example of JoJo Parker, like his dreams just came true. And like, on the other hand, I have to imagine there's some element of, what, like, would we have loved to have had him? Absolutely. But on the other hand, like, right. But also this is, you have a relationship with these people and care about these people. And it's got to be kind of a little bit of a double-sided coin there, where on the other hand, how could you not be excited for this family that you speak so highly of, that they have that kind of dream come true?
Well, it's a defining moment in their life, right? In their baseball career, right? I'm so happy and excited for JoJo Parker, right? He's a terrific young man, and it worked out for him. All the work that he put into it doesn't mean that, right, for his brother or another player that they failed or anything, right? The draft is a tough thing, as you all know, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it doesn't always work out the way that they want it. But each individual player and family need to make their own decision at that point in time of what is best for them. And when it does work out and it aligns for a player to take that opportunity out of high school, I'm excited for them, right? It's their decision, and we'll be okay, right? And we'll figure it out. And so there's certainly risk when you're going to recruit players that have the ability to make any kind of impact in the SEC. There's going to be high level risk, right? And so certainly excited for somebody like JoJo, and Landon Harmon was a right-handed pitcher that was committed here that signed for a really good signing bonus and his opportunity. That was right for those young men, but we also have seen what these college baseball programs, when the players are in these programs for 2 or 3 years, we've also seen the growth and maturity that happens. And then when they leave these college baseball programs, how quickly they're making the major leagues, right? And, there's no better proof than what's happened in this league over the last 5 years or so of the high draft picks and how they skyrocketed to the major leagues.
Yeah. So you have a pair of fall exhibitions scheduled. Play Florida State and Pensacola. You got La Tech coming in. What do you hope to accomplish with those? How do you approach the whole fall exhibition opportunity?
Yeah, my approach has always been, I wish we could play more than 2.
Yeah.
Back when I played college baseball, we used to play like 20 games. We played junior colleges and things like that, right?
Yep,
so I hope that some year we can grow that to 4 or 6, right? Because it'll be good for our game and good for their development. Because there becomes a certain point in time, guys, when you're inter-squad scrimmaging all the time in the fall, it gets a little bit old. You'd like to see somebody else in the other dugout in a different color uniform. Yeah. But what my approach has always been is first to instill a winning attitude. Go out there and win, right? It's an opportunity, right? And, it gives you an opportunity to sprinkle a lot of guys in and give them experience. When we play Florida State down in Pensacola, I would imagine the stadium's going to be sold out. And the crowd that we get here on November 1st against La Tech is going to be a great crowd. So those young men that, whether they're 18-year-old freshmen or a transfer coming to Mississippi State that's never played in this kind of environment, that's a huge benefit to be able to do that. Right. And it's just another point in their development in a different kind of way for them to be the most prepared they can be for the upcoming season.
Yeah. And part of that, certainly you hit it nail on the head, Coach, that atmosphere in Pensacola is not going to feel like an October, whatever day. It's going to feel like March or April or what have you. And those are live reps, right? I mean, you can't. Inter squads just aren't going to have that same level of intensity. So, Mark will actually be on hand for that one. So I know he's looking forward to that one. Coach, I appreciate you being so generous with your time this afternoon. Those maroon and white looks good on you. Looking forward to seeing the team in the fall and the spring. And thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, Mark, really appreciate you guys, everything that you do for college baseball, what D1 does, but certainly for the SEC. So thanks for having me on. It's an honor.
You as well, Coach.
See you in Pensacola.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Good stuff with Brian O'Connor. Looking forward to chopping it up a little bit with Mark. We're going to do a separate episode after this one coming next week where we discuss not only this interview, but the interview Mark did with Jay Johnson. We're also going to wrap up the series that we did on the site after the season of look backs at last season, projected lineups, and looking ahead to the 2026 season. So Mark and I will talk about that series a little bit, just kind of an episode where Mark and I catch up, because frankly, it's been a few weeks since Mark and I were on an episode together, just the two of us. So we'll recap the interviews, then talk about some other stuff, preview the fall a little bit. Mark and I are starting to piece together some of our fall travel plans, because those are coming fast and furious. Exhibition games will be here before you know it. Very excited about those and getting back out to the ballpark. So thank you to Academy Sports and Outdoors for sponsoring this and every episode of Highway to Hoover. Thank you one more time to Mississippi State head baseball coach Brian O'Connor for being generous with his time this afternoon as he gets his team ready to begin fall practice. And then thank you, as always, the listeners, for listening.